Hey everyone, in this video we are diving into video game UX, but in a slightly different format than usual. Instead of the analytical breakdowns of my previous videos, this one's going to be more casual. Think of it as a UX flavored let's play. We are jumping into Airport CEO and focusing specifically on the new game creation flow and the tutorial to see how that onboarding experience holds up. If you're new here, I'm Yash, a UX designer currently working at a AAA game studio. So let's get started with this. We are in the main menu and I'm already liking the visual style here. Of course, the menu items are made to look like those old school flip style schedule boards we used to see in airports before. And I see that focusing on these items actually reveals some more information. So let's look at what that says. So we have new airport, begin a new adventure, continue airport, keep playing. Then load airport, get back to work. And lastly, delete airport, erase your past. Alright, so this is not really as informative as I thought it would be. I do like the fact that they've made the focus state so prominent with a different color, and the animation of course helps visually distinguish it further. Although I don't like the fact that it bleeds out of the container like this. It makes the characters between the default and the focus state shift a little bit, which makes it harder to read them quickly. Oh, this one is interesting by the way. I think they did not have enough space to finish the sentence here. This dot, I don't think that's a dot, that's more like an ellipsis, just hiding a few characters after this. And then this one actually has an ellipsis. Things like these could have been easily avoided. I feel it doesn't really add much value and it just looks a little bit strange. But to be fair, none of this is actually game breaking, it's just something more visual and cosmetic. But with that said, let's get into the game now. I'll start by pressing the new airport button. Okay, so I see this panel now with a first name and last name. I'm assuming this is for the CEO. I think a title would be nice here just so that I know what exactly I'm doing. But okay, so we have a lot of different options for the character creation. I honestly don't know if I should care about character creation at all in this game. I do enjoy it as a feature, but only in games where it is relevant. And I'm not sure if it is relevant in this one. So as such, I think a randomize button would be nice here just so that I can get done with this in like a few seconds. So I'm just going to go with a random name and a random character here. Oh, I can't leave the last name empty. Let's just go with Y for this one as well then. Alright, so I see a map. Is this the location for my airport that I need to select? Again, a title would be nice because right now I'm making a lot of guesses. But so what happens if I click? Okay, so I see the locations changing up top. Actually, all of those things are changing. So I think these are the variables that would change how I play the game and build my airport. Honestly, for this, I feel like they should have presets that let me select the kind of challenge I want. Because I imagine as a new player, I don't really want to choose the hardest option without really knowing it, because a new player may not always understand the implications of all of these stats on their gameplay. But anyway, so I'm just going to go with a random option for now. Okay, so in this menu, I see a few things. The airport's name, I have to mention the code and select a logo, and there are a few other options. For these three, I feel like the game should have some default entries which I can change if I want to. But if I don't want to, then I can just skip them and zoom through this entire process really quickly. And then we have these two checkboxes. There's one called sandbox and the other one is called large map. Not sure how large that is, but I'm seeing, oh, we have some options here. I think these are more like creative mode, so we don't really need them right now. Oh, that entire pop-up just went by. All right, I think I might need to go back. Oh, do I need to do this entire thing once again? Wow, okay, I did not really expect that. So partially this was my mistake because I did not really notice the back button. But that's also because I kind of branched off to a different flow by pressing the settings button, intuitively expecting the close button to get me back to my original flow, which obviously did not happen. So the game here could have been a bit more clear and forgiving. Exiting out of this flow is a destructive action, which the game shouldn't have let me carry out so easily. I'm noticing that there is a tooltip with a warning about this here, but I don't think that's enough. Maybe there should have been a confirmation pop-up when I try to press this button. Also, we have been going through this flow of creating a new airport while this panel is still visible. Creating a new airport is a definitive flow which doesn't really need these options. So I'd much rather they use the entire screen for just these elements which are required for this flow, rather than shoving them in a format as temporary as a pop-up. One thing I also notice is when you uncheck this, these options are not available. Small, but just something that stuck out to me. Next, I have a check mark called large map, and as I mentioned earlier, I don't really know what is the reference, what the small map looks like, and what does the large map look like in comparison. Next, we have the airport management mode, which is a slider that has 4 options. So this is basically just difficulty selection. Love the fact that they have spelled out the impact that each option would have on your gameplay. I like that it's not hidden or behind a tooltip or something. They should do this for all the other options available in the game for better clarity. So with the easy one, it's pretty easy to run an airport. Being a CEO will pose no threat to your pension. You start with a great $3 million in cash, and emergency events are very rare. With moderate, the job of a CEO can be challenging sometimes, but it's not going to kill you. You'll start with an okay $2 million in cash, and emergency events are rare. Okay, so I think the first line is just flavor text. So what's important is with difficult, you start with 1 million and emergency events are common. And lastly, with extreme, you'll start with 500,000 and emergency events are very common. So we should of course stick to easy. One thing I'd like to know is whether or not I'll be able to change these difficulty settings after I've started the game. Because with some games, it's a piece of cake, but for some other games, it's practically impossible from a technical standpoint. So that's good information to have at this point. Also, I feel like maybe this doesn't really fit well with the rest of the contents of the page. Maybe this should have been a step of its own, or maybe it could be combined with the world map selection that we did in the previous step. I think difficulty is tied in really well to both of those things. But so we are done with this flow. Now all we need to do is press the launch button. I like that it is called launch and not continue. Definitely communicates commitment. I wish that they had styled the button differently though, maybe made it more visually prominent. And that goes for all of the UI, by the way. The only thing that I mentioned earlier that is stylized are these options, but other than that, everything else is quite bland. Oh, I just noticed, by the way, I don't think this is the logo that I selected before. I'm not sure when exactly it changed. It was this one, this red one. Let me just go back to the previous menu and come back. Yes, so there you go. So logo selection doesn't really get saved between steps, and that's weird because everything else remains as is. So ideally it should be saved. But so with that, let's get started and let's talk about the UX of the gameplay side of this game. Okay, so the game is started. Airport status is green, which means open. Oh, the simulation is already on play. Let's change that to pause. Usually this is better because if you have resources, then if the game is on play, you would start losing them, which is not something you want. Ideally, the game should do this automatically for you. That's how some games such as City Skylines does it, for example, where they start with the game paused. So you have enough time to go through the tutorial without really worrying about anything like that. So I see a mobile phone thing here, which I think will take me through the tutorial. Most of the UI elements I see are in the bottom. I also see there are some small elements on the top left and right. On the top right, we have the game menu, and on the top left, we have the notifications. I don't really like the way the game world is moving as I try to access these menus. I think that might be frustrating as we play the game, but we'll see. We'll see how much of a friction this creates. But for now, let's look at the bottom panel. So we have the time controls, the time and current date, some weather data. Other than that, we have the flight schedule, some overlay, some other settings in the left. And now let's look at the right. We have passengers and staff and baggage. So these seem like some stats related to the airport that we currently have. And then we have these ones, some satisfaction scores, email, and the funds that we currently have in the airport. I'm not sure what this one is though. It says hourly balance and it's in green. So it tells me that I'm gaining that much money. I'm not really sure how. I'm wondering if I resume the simulation, will that number change considering we are not really making any money? I think we can test that out. I resumed the game. I think this might take a moment to update, so we'll come back to that in a few minutes. But anyway, so moving on, next we have an airport status. Pressing it opens this panel, and then there is another button which opens this panel, and then there are a few things on the right here as well. Let's see what that is. Oh, this is the same panel. So it looks like these would lead to the different sections of the management panel. So I'm quickly glossing over these sections for now. You'll look at them in more detail as we go through the tutorial. Speaking of which, by the way, let's get started with the introduction. So it says this is a build panel where all airport related structures and items can be found. Some objects are not yet available and need to be unlocked from the R&D panel. So clearly the yellow panel here is the build panel. It's popping so heavily, and I think it doesn't need to be this prominent because right now it's so hard to see those icons and contents of the panel. I see some of those items are darker, so maybe those are the ones that are not available yet. But anyway, let's move on. So this is the management panel, shortcut is tab. It's the most, oh, the game is set to pause once again. I think it might, oh, and I see this number going down as well. So I think we are good because the game has started. So this number has gone down. But yeah, let's pause that once again. I think it makes sense that the game would pause itself at this time, but I just wish it was communicated better. So this is the management panel. It is the most important panel covering all aspects of being a CEO. The first tab is the dashboard, a general overview of the current status of your airport. So that's this one, and I can use the tab key to open and close this panel. I don't know how I can cycle between these different tabs. I don't know if that's possible. I don't see any indication for that in the UI. The introduction also doesn't say anything, but I think that's fine. So moving on, from the economy tab, you can view your budget, accept contracts, order new products, and take out loans. All right, that's fairly clear. I also like that they have green for income and red for expenses. Next, the operations tab allows you to toggle airport services as well as open the airport and allow general aviation to use your airport. From the construction panel, you can deploy contractors to help build your airport. Okay, so first of all, I feel like that's a lot of information to gather in such a short amount of time. And overall, I feel like there are just too many steps in this tutorial with a lot of reading. I'm pretty sure I'm not going to remember most of this. Secondly, I appreciate that they are highlighting the elements in the UI that they are referring to in the phone, but the popping animation is not the cleanest. There are elements clipping and it just doesn't look right. Lastly, they mentioned the construction panel here, but I don't really see that in the UI. I have a feeling that it might be one of those 3 subtabs. Oh yeah, there it is. It can be a lot more clear though. Maybe they can show this icon here instead of just simply saying construction panel. Next, to the right is the airport rating panel. It's an indication of how well your airport is doing. Hover over the icons to learn what each rating measures. So that's this panel that's popping, and yeah, see, there you go. Because the panel is popping, the tooltip is constantly going in and out, and it's really hard to read what's mentioned on that tooltip. But so in terms of the content, we have general aviation satisfaction, airline satisfaction, passenger satisfaction, current security rating, and average airport satisfaction. So I'm assuming these are all the different stats which we need to keep an eye on to ensure that things are going well for the airport. And then as we can see, each of these have these individual panels, which I feel are having more granular stats that would make up these categories. And I think these would make more sense once our airport is functional and we'd get more data for each of these. Right now, it just feels like there is just a lot that we need to track and it feels very overwhelming. Maybe right now I feel like there is just a lot that the game is trying to show in the beginning because these systems would have much more impact later on as we play the game more. Perhaps having some kind of progressive disclosure for these things would make more sense, but we'll see how this goes. So moving on, we've already seen this one. Let's go next. It looks like you have received a new email from the mayor. Click the email button to read it. Press tab to open the management panel again and make sure you familiarize yourself with the various panels. Alright, so the email button is popping. Let's press that. And we have to look for the one from the mayor, which is this one. Oh my god, that's a long email. I don't really want to read this, but anyway, let's do it. So thank you for our last meeting and I hope you like your new job. I know it isn't much at this point, but hopefully you'll do better than the last person who tried to build our town's proud airport. Okay, that's a lot of reading. So you've got a lot of work ahead of you, blah, 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 blah. We count on you. Okay, good luck and we'll talk soon. Here are the most important things you need to know. Press tab to access the management panel. You'll find everything from a management perspective. This is your control panel, and press H to access the tutorial. It can prove to be quite challenging to build an airport. Okay, we at the city office want you to get flying, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so this is definitely not worth spending time on. It's not showing any new information. In fact, it's quite the opposite. It is actually showing me the same thing that the introduction has been telling me so far. So I don't know if you really need this. But let's look at the other email. Oh my god, this is as long, if not longer. All right, so my name is Anita and we met briefly over mayor's office, blah, 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 blah. Okay, I'm pretty sure I'm not going to read read through all of this. Here's the full GA committee checklist. Okay, those points look important, but I think even then, right now, since I'm just starting out, I don't really care about making for the airport of the year. So I think this doesn't need to be a part of the onboarding experience for the player. Anyway, let's go next. By pressing F or the leftmost icon on the bottom field, you'll open the flight planner. Once you have signed your first airline contract and built an airport suitable for commercial flights, this is where you will schedule them. Alright, so this is what that looks like, and it shows me an error right now. I think that's just because we don't have the elements to run the airport right now. But yeah, so that's the scheduler. I do like the fact that they are including some of these keyboard shortcuts in some of these things, and this is really nice because I know I'm going to forget this. But anyway, moving on. So well done. There's so much more to do and to learn by yourself from this point on. If you press H or the question mark in the bottom left panel, you will open the tutorial panel again. If you ever need help, you can view the current tutorial step and the checklist. Press next to begin constructing your first airport. Where exactly is this question mark? It says it's in the bottom left, but I don't see that anywhere, so that's confusing me. So it's things like these that can be improved, I feel. But anyway, let's move on. Oh my god, why are these things so long? I don't really want to read so much when I'm playing a game. Game devs, please understand that. Alright, so airports are complex megastructures, so it's best to start with a small airfield when learning the basics of airport operation. Remember that you can view the checklist at any time by pressing the checklist button next to the close button if you want to make sure you have completed the current steps. If needed, you can find a detailed tutorial panel in the management panel. Good luck. This blurb had a lot of, you can find this next to that, next to that, next to that. It's just really complicated. And despite all of this, I'm still unsure where most of these things are in the UI. Imagine if instead of all of that text, the game would have showed this by overlays and annotations. That would have made this entire thing so easy to not only understand, but also remember in the long term. And if that was too expensive to develop, maybe having some more visual aids in that section would have helped a lot. Also, since there are so many steps in this tutorial, some kind of pagination indication would have also been helpful, just so that you know where exactly you are and how much more there is still to go. That said, let's just have a look at the tutorial. I want to see if there is anything useful. Oh, there is a checklist here. Is that the one that they are referring to here? It shows that we have 2 tasks completed from this, but this one says you can view the checklist at any time by pressing the checklist button next to the close button. And the only close button I see right now is this one, but that's not on the bottom left. Anyway, I think we'll figure this out as we go, but for now, let's move forward. So prepare for construction, sign a contract with a contractor, open economy tab and contracts. That definitely looks like a checklist, even though there is a single checkbox. And here it says contractors use construction material to build objects. The material is automatically ordered and delivered via trucks to a delivery site. Alright, so in this case, I know exactly which menu I need to go to, mainly because they are using a visual in this instruction, which is perfect, which is exactly what I was talking about just now. So we have to sign a contract with a contractor, and right now it looks like we have 2 contracts. And of course, there is more reading. So this one says contract between HWY and Los Santos. HWY was established by this person in this year. I don't think I care about this. The only thing I think I care about is the 2 bullet points. Maximum contractors is 66 and hourly fee is $9.1 per contractor. And now let's look at the other one. So this one is from Brickley, and the maximum contractors here are 103 with $6.5 per hour per contractor. So with this, it sounds like they are trying to simulate real-life situations where construction companies would try to pitch into these projects. And it's really interesting that they have it down to the UI, which is replicating an actual contract. The only problem that I have with this is there is still so much reading here, and I don't even care about most of these things. I've already done so much reading in most of the tutorials, so I don't really want to read any further. Now, it's very apparent that I have to pick one of the contracts here, and I think the one with HWY is not really good because it provides less contractors and has a higher fee. So I'll go for this other one. The only thing I'm not sure about is if there are any other implications other than the number of contractors and their fees. It doesn't look like there would be any other implications on the gameplay, but we'll see how this goes in the future. For now, I'll just confirm this contract and we'll move forward. Alright, so the next part says deploy contractors, and I need to open the construction tab from the operations tab. Oh, this was the checklist, by the way, that they were referring to, and the close button. Now it makes sense. So I'm not really sure why we were not able to see this before. And that's the full checklist. Okay, that makes more sense. So we have to deploy contractors now. For this, we need to go to the operators tab, and in this, we have to go to the construction panel. There we go. So we have, okay, that's our contract, and we can deploy max. I think I'm just going to go with 5 for now. I just want to see how this goes. So we will deploy, and let's now see if anything happened here. Oh, there is something happening here. It's a bus, it looks like. Let's see. Yeah, that's a contractor shuttle. Okay, that's good to know. I'm really happy that my money is really well spent because they sent like 5 people in an entire bus. So this, I hope, will go really good. Let's just let them settle down. My game is running, so that's no problem. Oh, time to get your hands dirty. Let's get started with airport construction. In order to receive your first GA, which is General Aviation Flight, the image below is an example of an airport design that is suitable for GA operation. Okay, I have no idea what this image is trying to tell me, but let's go next. Alright, so this makes more sense. There are a lot of things that we need to do, and that entire wall of text is really a lot to read through. There is also a did you know, like a hint section that provides probably more information about specific mechanics and things like that, which I feel might be best placed somewhere else because it can just reduce the perception of having too much text to read in this one. But yeah, so just looking at the list, it looks like we have to place a bunch of things. There is a small runway, then there are 2 runway ramps, then there is a taxiway foundation, at least 5 small stands, and then connect everything with these taxiway paths. And last, we have to place an air traffic control tower. Alright, so let's just get started with the runway then. I know this is the build panel, so this is where it should be. The question is, where exactly in this would I find a runway? This one, maybe? There are a bunch of roads here. A service road, public road. Nope. One-way road. Okay, maybe somewhere else? Aircraft infrastructure. Okay, there we go. That was easy enough. I just completely missed that though. But anyway, so we have 2 variations. There is a grass one, and then there is an asphalt one. There is a construction cost and an operating cost. You can see the difference between the two. So I'm just gonna go with the asphalt one because I think it might be just cheaper in the long run. And we have the money right now anyway, so we'll just go with that. I'm just wondering if there is a specific way I need to put this runway in because right now it just feels random. I think they had an image in the tutorial, right? So I'm just going to check that. And so it seems, oh yeah, this is the image that I was talking about. So we need to place a small runway, which looks like it's this one. That's our first task. And then we have to place 2 runway ramps, one on each side of the runway end. So it looks like that's this one, and there will be another one on the other side, which we can't see in this image. So there are a few problems I see with this image. Firstly, it's a tutorial, so it should be more clear and it should exactly tell me what is what. Right now, it's just a random image and it's not even complete. So these kind of things can be very confusing for some players. But yeah, so to answer my original question, it doesn't look like we have to place the runway in a specific way. We can just place it anywhere as long as we have some space around it for the other things that were mentioned in the list. So I'm just going to place it here. Alright, so this is done. Now we need to place the 2 runway ramps, which I think I'll find again in aircraft infrastructure. There you go. So runway ramps are attached to runways and will allow your aircraft to enter and exit the runway. Oh, why is there a difference in the description in both of these? And then what are, oh, those are different types of runway ramps? That's really weird because these tiles look exactly the same. There's also a cost difference, so it's not just everything clubbed into a single cost category. Right now, these tiles only indicate the material, but they should also indicate the shape of the runway ramps because I'm pretty sure that the shape would have an impact on how they function. But yeah, so let's pick one. I think these ones are actually quite expensive, so I'm just gonna go with the grass ones for now. We have to place one here. I think this is good. And then the other one over here. Alright, so that is done. Now over to the next one. We have to build a taxiway foundation, which I think I'll find again in aircraft infrastructure, aircraft stand. There you go. So this is the foundation for aircraft to taxi around your airport. And in this one, we have two choices as well, the grass one and the asphalt one. This one is slightly more expensive to construct, but the operating cost is almost double in the grass one. So we'll just go with the asphalt one. And I think we have to start from here, maybe. I'm not sure what this icon really means. Maybe that's the end point of the ramp. So probably that's where I need to start building this from and take it all the way to the other side. Okay, so that is done. Now the next thing is to place at least 5 small stands, which I think I'll also find in aircraft infrastructure. Oh, there it is. So I'm just going to start placing these over here. And once again, we have a choice between grass and asphalt. I think I'm just going to go with asphalt once again. We are seeing a recurring theme of a higher construction cost, but a lower maintenance cost, which makes sense for asphalt because it's obviously more durable. So I really like that they have this choice. Maybe this is also one of the things that could have been highlighted more. So we are done with these 5 small stands. Now we just need to wait for the construction to happen. And I think I'm going to need more workers for this. So I'm just going to go to the operations panel and let's add some workers. So now we have 98 workers that we can deploy. And now I'm hoping that things will be much faster for us. And we already have this thing coming in, which is good. And we have over here some construction material, I'm assuming. Transit structure data. Okay, I don't know what that is, but it looks useful. And we have our construction. Oh, we have 2 buses coming in. That's perfect. All right, that's good. Oh, these guys are going in and doing something. All right, let's get rid of this. I kind of want to speed up this game. I think there are controls here. I kind of miss that they don't have the keyboard shortcuts for this mentioned here. So let's change that in the settings. We have control settings here. Oh, key bindings. That's really nice. So in this we have, oh, there you go. We have normal speed, double speed and triple speed, 1, 2 and 3. That's a fairly known convention. So that's really nice that they are reusing that. I just wish they had that in the tooltip, but this is something that you can easily pick up. So that's fine. But yeah, look at all these people go and just construct things for us. That's really perfect. Alright, so it looks like the construction is done and these people are going back. But I'm not really sure why I'm seeing all these red icons in this one. Now let me just check the instructions here. So this one is still not done. And this one says runway ramp is not connected. I'm not sure what's going on with this one. What's this? Okay, that looks to be changing the direction of the ramp. And we see the same error over here. So I'm not really sure. Object is not functional. Okay, that's a different thing it seems. Runway ramp is not connected. Maybe I thought that maybe I need to wait for something before doing that, but it seems like I need to make that connection using the taxiway paths. So let me try to find that. Aircraft infrastructure again, taxiway path. Okay. So must be placed on build taxiway foundation. Okay, so that should be this one then. And I see green. Okay, that's good. So I'm just going to connect these two. And that worked. That's perfect. So I'm just going to connect everything else over here. That looks good. And oh, there is another one over here. So I'm just going to connect that to this side as well. And I think that, oh, something did happen. I think that should fix our problem. I'm still seeing these icons. The object is still not functional. I don't know. Is there something wrong? Is there something I'm missing? Do I need to do? I don't know. This just changes direction. So I don't think that is the problem. Not really sure what's going on. Even this one is deactivated and will not operate. But why? I'm wondering if I should just move on to the next step without really worrying about this. Maybe this thing will just take care of itself. I don't know. Maybe I can try that. So I'm just going to construct the ATC tower and let's just see. So in this one, we don't really have any variations. So let's just build this one. Now the question is, where exactly should I build this? Maybe it's easier if I just build this here, at least for now, so that it's closer to the road and the construction folks. And that really is the last step here. So we just need to wait for all the structures to be built. Why are these people just not doing anything? Oh, we have a truck coming in. Okay, it will have the construction material, so that will get sorted. And yeah, they are building it now. Oh, that was really quick. Now it's time to accept your first flight. At this time, we can only accept GA, which is general aviation flights, a small type of aircraft operated by private pilots, as we haven't yet acquired a commercial license. First off, we need to ensure that the runway, the aircraft stands, and the airport is open. And when this is done, we have 5 GA flights land to complete this tutorial step. Alright, so that is clear. Let's go to next. Okay, we have a whole bunch of new things that we need to do now. So we need to open the airport, allow general aviation, open the runway by left-clicking the runway to open up its menu. That's a mouthful sentence. Alright, next is open all stands. I don't know when exactly I finished that. Oh, that's a new menu. I did not see that before. I think I just switched it off. Okay, that's active, but still it's not functional. So I don't know what's going on there. And all of these stands are actually problematic. So it is definitely something that I am missing and not a bug or something like that. But yeah, so next is if land animals enter the runway or taxiway, they can cause damage to aircraft and slow taxiing down. Build fences around your airport to keep animals out. That's actually a really nice mechanic. And the funny thing is I'm already seeing an animal that's inside the airport right now. What am I supposed to do with that? But yeah, so next is place at least one fence gate to make it easier for contractors to pass certain areas of your airfield. All right, so let's start building that fence. Where exactly can I find it? Would it be in infrastructure? Nope. Shops, restaurants? Nope. Oh, decorations maybe? Nope. Terminal? Yeah, this one doesn't seem to have it either. Oh, there it is. Okay, fence. There you go. These kind of things are really not clear. I really wish that they made it a little bit more easier to find these things. But anyway, let's build this. So I'm seeing maybe I can get started with this here. Right now, I'm just going to build this very randomly and we can keep improving it and changing it as we go and build the airport further. And now let's see how we can deal with this. Maybe I can just add a gate first here, because that's the easiest location for this, considering it's closer to the construction workers. Oh, I'm not able to build this here. Okay, that's probably because of the ADC. I think that's fine. We can just go around that building and then build the rest of this. Maybe straight up like that. All right, so that is looking good. Now I just need to connect this side to this one. And then this one down here, and I'll just fill this up. This is probably the easiest part of this entire playthrough. So moving on, we are done with both of these tasks. Now I need to open the airport and allow general aviation. And for this, I need to go to the operations tab and find the overview, which is, oh, it's this one. Okay, so both of these toggles should be on. So let's do that. And then I need to open the runway by left-clicking the runway to open up its menu. So let's do that. So I am doing that right now, but it doesn't seem to be doing anything. Oh, okay. So I had to press a specific area on the runway, which is definitely not clear. But anyway, so I'm looking at small aircraft, which is turned on in this, and general aviation is good. Everything is looking good. So what exactly is the problem? So it took me a minute to see this, but there is actually this button that I think we need to press, and hopefully that should, oh yes, the task is done. And we also have our first plane. That's perfect. So we have to wait for, oh, we have one more. Okay, that's good. So we have to wait for 3 more now. And it's funny that they have these people. Oh, so each of these people have their own ID cards. Not sure how useful that information is going to be, but we'll see. What if... Oh, we have information about the flight and the plane, it seems. I don't think we need this information right now, I think, but oh, we have our third plane already. So 2 more to go. I don't think it's going to be that long. So while we wait for this, let's talk about the overall experience so far. I think the onboarding here is fairly solid. A lot of games in this genre fall into the trap of just giving you a checklist. So do this, then do that, then do 15 other things without really explaining why you are doing any of those things. But this game actually avoids that. It takes its time to explain what you're doing and more importantly why that matters. If anything though, it might lean a little too far in the opposite direction. There are moments where it feels slightly over-explaining. I think a tighter and a more streamlined experience would have made this better. Progressive disclosure, which is revealing systems once they only become relevant, would have worked really well here. Right now, you are sometimes bombarded with information you don't immediately need, and that's a problem. And as we discussed earlier, there's also just a lot of reading, and that's, oh, there is our fourth plane. So just 1 more to go. But yeah, so there is a lot of reading, and that's a very common issue in this genre, which surely impacts the overall experience. Oh, I think it's getting darker. I did not know this game had a day-night cycle. I'm wondering how that might impact our gameplay. But yeah, oh, we have our 5th plane. There you go. So congratulations on your first functional airport. The GA pilots are enjoying your airport, but some are concerned about the lack of aircraft refueling service. Let's get started with constructing all the required structures for a basic refueling service. I don't know why this part is a bit problematic. I know I've seen this before as well. Seems like a weird text justification thing going on, but I really like the fact that they are pushing the refueling system for later. That's the exact kind of progressive disclosure that I was just talking about. They should have ideally leaned more into this with even the steps that we've gone through so far, but it's getting there, so that's good. Another improvement that would have been nice would be stronger use of callouts and contextual overlays. Right now the game is relying so heavily on the in-game phone messages, which makes the experience too wordy. So letting the UI do a little bit more heavy lifting there would have been nice. A common mantra that movies use, for example, is show, don't tell. And I think it's as relevant for game UX and UI as well. And finally, the UI itself is fairly functional, but the UI styling is quite basic. A bit more visual stylization could have made the experience a bit more engaging, but that's probably a different discussion. And that's about it, guys. So if you enjoyed this, please give a like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.